What's up, everybody? Today we're going to answer one of the most common questions about retirement accounts. What happens if you want to take your money out early? Many of you know that if you try to take money out of a 401k or an IRA before you're 59 and a half years old, you'll owe extra taxes and penalties. So if you're part of the early retirement community and you want to retire well before 59 and a half, you might be asking, how do I get my money out of these accounts without paying extra taxes and fees? Well, today we're going to explain one of the most common and simplest methods, the Roth Conversion Ladder. Let's look at a diagram that represents your typical early retiree. Someone who is aiming to retire around the age of 40. They have a good 20-year working career where they have a very high savings rate. Maybe they're saving 40 to 50% of their income. And so they have a very big bucket of money in their 401k. For many people that are employees, they have the ability to put over $18,000 a year in a 401k. And so this will typically be the largest pot of money. Now, this person may have also been making contributions to a Roth IRA, which over the course of their working career may have made some earnings. Now, I have the two different colors, red and green here, for a very intentional purpose. 401ks and traditional IRAs, which are treated very similar from a tax standpoint, and Roth IRA earnings are red because you cannot withdraw them until after age 59 and a half without taxes and penalties. So they're red because they're basically blocked off from use in early retirement unless you wanted to pay taxes and fees. You may know that anything you contribute to a Roth IRA, you're able to withdraw those tax and penalty free at any time. That's why I've represented your contributions in your Roth IRA as green. For most early retirees who want to retire 20 or more years before the normal retirement date, that small amount of money in your Roth IRA is not typically enough to last you all of your early retirement. So the question, of course, is, how do I get money to fund my early retirement if I've only been using retirement accounts? This is where the Roth Conversion Ladder comes in. There is actually another bucket, another type of money in your Roth IRA, and that's money that you've converted from a 401k or traditional IRA to Roth. When you make that conversion, the amount of that conversion is taxable income in the year, but then it's in your Roth IRA and you treat it separately. It's its own little accounting bucket called conversions. Now, I have this money represented as yellow because it has a special rule which allows you to access it before your normal retirement date. And that rule is that money has to sit and season in the Roth IRA for 5 years. Once it's been seasoned, you're allowed to withdraw it tax and penalty free. So it's yellow because it has a restriction on it. It has the seasoning, and if you withdraw it before 5 years from the time you convert it, you owe taxes and penalties. But as long as you wait that 5 years, it kind of acts more like a contribution, and you can withdraw it in this area tax and penalty free. So let's zoom in on the timeline a little bit with our example guy at age 40, right when he retires. If in his first year of retirement, he makes a conversion from his 401k or traditional IRA to his Roth IRA of an amount, say $40,000, assuming our retiree plans to have annual expenses of about $40,000. That money will be accessible when he's 45 years old, after it's seasoned for 5 years from the year in which he made the conversion. So his plan here is that once he turns 45, he's going to have another $40,000 in his Roth IRA that he can draw down from, tax and penalty free, to fund his expenses for that year in retirement. Now, once he turns 41, our retiree is going to make another conversion of $40,000 or a little bit more for inflation. That money is going to sit in his Roth IRA, and it will become accessible to him tax and penalty free when he's 46 years old. And then he's going to do it again when he's 42. Make another conversion of about 1 year's worth of expenses so that he can access that money in retirement 5 years later in his 47th year. So now you can probably start to see why we call this the Roth Conversion Ladder. If you turn this timeline on its side, it begins to look like a ladder. So what we have now is a pipeline or a pathway that allows someone to pull from their largest pool of money. Most early retirees are going to have most of their savings and investments in a 401k or traditional IRA. Now we can take it through this pipeline, through the Roth IRA, through conversions, to fund the majority of your early retirement. And how you can imagine it, in the middle of this timeline here, where our example person is using this conversion ladder, each year he's basically pulling off 1 year's worth of conversions and spending that throughout the year and making another conversion that comes in on the top of this pile. So you can imagine this is like a ladder with a 5-year lag, where each year you're spending off the bucket that's been in there for 5 years, but making another conversion, adding a new bucket at the top. And each year you do this. Of course, this begs the question, how do you get through the first 5 years of retirement? Now that's a much simpler question. That takes a lot less money to get through just that 5 years than all of your early retirement. Now this is a much more reasonable amount of time to fund with your Roth IRA contributions. Remember, these are green. These you can pull down tax and penalty free anytime. This amount is much more likely to be able to cover those 5 years. And if it's not, this is where taxable accounts come in. We've been trying to shove all of our money into IRAs and 401ks because of the incredible tax savings. But most people will have some taxable accounts. Put some stocks in a normal, typical brokerage account, buy some ETFs, buy some bonds, or save money elsewhere in other types of investments that aren't sheltered by tax advantage accounts. So now you actually have 2 buckets of money, taxable accounts and your Roth IRA contributions that you can use to fund this time. And then from 45 and on, or from your 5th year of retirement and on, your pipeline will be active, allowing you to access this big bucket of money in your 401k and traditional IRA. So the last thing to think about with a Roth conversion ladder is the fact that every time you make a conversion from your 401k or traditional IRA into a Roth IRA, the amount that you convert counts as taxable income for the year. So in our example, we were saying our guy's converting about $40,000 a year. That's going to add to his taxable income that year. But what's pretty awesome is when you imagine these first 5 years of retirement, you're funding your living expenses based off of withdrawals from your Roth IRA contributions, which have already been taxed, so that's not taxable income, plus maybe some money from taxable accounts, so you might be realizing a small amount of capital gains, but your taxable income for those years is going to be very low. So when you make a conversion of, say, $40,000, you're going to be in a very low tax bracket, which is really cool. And by only doing $40,000 a year, you keep your effective income very low. And with standard deduction, if you have kids, you might only be realizing $20,000, $30,000 of taxable income a year, or even less. So this strategy not only allows you to access this big pool of money early, it also allows you to access it at a fairly low tax rate. So that, my friends, is the Roth Conversion Ladder, one of the main ways that you can get money out of tax-sheltered accounts in early retirement without paying extra taxes and penalties. One of the other main methods is substantially equal periodic payments, and I will make another video on that one next time.